The alarm bells at Kepler 442 monitoring station had been silent for 300 years. When they started ringing at 0400 station time, Lieutenant Jake Morrison thought it was a malfunction. He rolled out of his bunk and stumbled to the control room, still half asleep. "Computer, run diagnostics on all alarm systems," he mumbled, rubbing his eyes. "All systems functioning normally," the station computer replied in its calm voice. "Long-range sensors have detected an object approaching from Sector 77 Alpha." Jake froze. Sector 77 Alpha was empty space. Nothing came from that direction except cosmic dust and old radiation. He moved to the main console and brought up the sensor display. What he saw made his blood run cold. A ship was coming, toward them. Not just any ship, but something huge and dark, moving at speeds that should have torn it apart. The computer was trying to identify it, running through millions of known vessel designs in its database. "Identification complete," the computer announced. "Vessel matches design parameters for United Nations Ship Wanderer, registry UNS 2847. Launch date, March 15th, 2387. Status, missing, presumed destroyed." Jake stared at the screen. The year was 22,387. The ship the computer had identified was 20,000 years old. That was impossible. Nothing could survive that long in space, especially not a human ship. Humans had been extinct for over 15,000 years. Jake's hands shook as he activated the emergency beacon. Within minutes, his small monitoring station became the center of attention for the entire Galactic Council. Admiral Carl Stone's voice crackled through the communications array, sharp and demanding. "Morrison, confirm your readings. Are you telling me there's a human ship in your sector?" "Yes, sir," Jake replied, his voice steady despite his fear. "It's definitely human design. The computer says it's the UNS Wanderer, but that's impossible. That ship disappeared 20,000 years ago. Nothing's impossible until we prove it is," Stone said grimly. "Keep monitoring. Do not attempt contact. I'm sending Dr. Lisa Park and a full diplomatic team. They'll be there in 6 hours." Jake spent those 6 hours watching the ship grow larger on his screens. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, all smooth curves and deadly angles. Scars covered its hull, marks from battles with things Jake couldn't imagine. The ship moved with purpose, like it knew exactly where it was going. When Dr. Park arrived with her team, she immediately took over the station's main console. She was a small woman with gray hair and intense eyes that had seen too many alien worlds. Her specialty was old human artifacts, the few things that survived when the humans were wiped out. "This is incredible," she whispered, studying the readings. "The energy signatures are human, but they're unlike anything in our records. This technology is far more advanced than what humans had when they disappeared." Admiral Stone's fleet arrived 2 hours later. 30 ships surrounded the human vessel, weapons ready but not aimed. The Wanderer stopped just outside the station's defensive perimeter and hung in space like a sleeping predator. "All stations, this is Admiral Stone," came the voice over the communications network. "Prepare for first contact protocol. Dr. Park, you're in charge of initial communication attempts." Lisa took a deep breath and opened a channel on standard frequencies. "Unknown vessel, this is Dr. Lisa Park of the Galactic Council. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." Silence stretched for long minutes. Then, static filled the channel, followed by a voice speaking in ancient Earth Standard, a language that hadn't been heard in the galaxy for millennia. "Galactic Council Monitoring Station, this is Captain Ryan Cross of the United Nations Ship Wanderer. We request permission to dock and speak with your commanding officer." The voice was human, unmistakably human, but there was something in it that made everyone on the station uncomfortable. It was too calm, too controlled, like someone who had seen things that would break normal minds. "Captain Cross," Dr. Park replied carefully. "Our records show the Wanderer was lost 20,000 years ago. Can you explain how you're here?" "Lost?" There was something that might have been amusement in the captain's voice. "We were never lost, Dr. Park. We were simply completing our mission. Now we've returned to assess the current state of human territories. Admiral Stone cut into the channel. Captain, I'm Admiral Stone of the Council Defense Fleet. I'm afraid I have some difficult news. There are no human territories. Humanity is extinct, has been for over 15,000 years. Another long silence. When Captain Cross spoke again, his voice had changed. It was colder now, with an edge that made seasoned soldiers nervous. Extinct? Admiral, I think there's been some misunderstanding. Humanity doesn't go extinct. We simply go quiet when we need to think. The Wanderer began, moving toward the station. It wasn't threatening, but the way it moved was wrong somehow. Too smooth, too quiet, like a shark gliding through dark water. Dr. Park, Captain Cross continued, we're going to dock at your station. We have things to discuss. Important things about the state of the galaxy and humanity's place in it. Lisa looked at Admiral Stone's image on her screen. The military commander's face was pale but determined. He gave her a small nod. Permission granted, Captain Cross. Docking Bay 7 is clear for your arrival. The Wanderer moved to the docking bay with impossible precision. No ship that large should have been able to maneuver so easily. As it settled into place, the station's sensors picked up more details about the vessel. The metal was unlike anything in Council databases. The energy readings showed power levels that could have run the entire station for decades. Admiral, Dr. Park said quietly, I'm reading at least 50 life signs aboard that ship. They're all human, but there's something strange about the readings. Their biological signatures are different from historical human baselines. Different how? Faster reflexes, enhanced muscle density, improved neural activity. They've changed, Admiral. 20,000 years in space has made them into something new. Through the docking bay cameras, they watched as the Wanderer's airlock opened. Captain Cross stepped out first, followed by 3 other crew members. They looked human, but they moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost predatory. Their uniforms were simple, but clearly made from advanced materials. Captain Cross looked directly at the camera and smiled. It wasn't a threatening smile, but it wasn't entirely friendly either. Dr. Park, he said, somehow knowing exactly which camera was watching him. Shall we begin? We have 20,000 years of catching up to do, and I suspect you're going to find our story very interesting. As the humans walked toward the station's main corridor, alarms began sounding on Council ships throughout the sector. Long-range sensors were detecting more signatures, more ships appearing at the edges of known space. The Wanderer hadn't come alone. Humanity was back, and the galaxy was about to remember why it had once feared the species from Sol. Captain Ryan Cross walked through the station corridors like he owned them. His 3 crew members followed behind him, their eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. Dr. Lisa Park noticed how they moved, smooth, controlled, ready for anything. They didn't walk like normal humans. They walked like hunters. Captain Cross, Dr. Park said as they entered the main conference room. Welcome to Kepler Station. I'm Dr. Lisa Park, and this is Admiral Carl Stone. Captain Cross shook their hands, with a grip that was stronger than it looked. His eyes were blue, but there was something deep in them that made Lisa uncomfortable, like he had seen things that would give normal people nightmares for the rest of their lives. Dr. Park, Admiral Stone, Cross said politely. Thank you for the welcome. This is Commander Beth Hayes, my first officer, Engineer Tony Kim, my systems specialist, and Dr. Alex Chen, our science officer. Each crew member nodded as they were introduced. Commander Hayes was a tall woman with short brown hair and scars on her hands that looked like they came from fighting. Tony Kim was smaller but moved with the same deadly grace as the others. Dr. Chen looked normal until he smiled, and then Lisa saw teeth that were just slightly too sharp. Please sit down, Admiral Stone said, trying to take control of the situation. We have many questions. I'm sure you do, Captain Cross replied, settling into his chair. Where would you like to begin? Dr. Park activated her recording device. Let's start with the obvious question. How are you here? Humanity was destroyed in the Great Purge 15,000 years ago. Every human world was glassed, every colony was wiped out. Captain Cross looked genuinely surprised. The Great Purge? That's what you call it? He turned to Dr. Chen. Alex, what do our records say about the event Dr. Park is describing? Dr. Chen pulled out a small device and touched its surface. Data flowed across it in languages that predated most galactic civilizations. According to our archives, approximately 15,000 years ago, several alien species formed a coalition to eliminate human presence from the galaxy. They succeeded in destroying surface installations on 47 worlds. Surface installations, Admiral Stone repeated slowly. What about the people? The people? Commander Hayes spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm but carried an edge that made everyone in the room nervous. Captain, shall I tell them about the evacuation protocols? Cross nodded. Beth, go ahead. Hayes leaned forward. When the coalition formed, we saw it coming. Human intelligence networks had been monitoring alien communications for decades. We knew war was inevitable, so we activated the Deep Protocol. The Deep Protocol? Dr. Park asked. Every human world had underground cities, Tony Kim explained. Miles underground, with their own air, water, and food systems. When the attacks came, the surface cities were mostly empty. Decoys, you might say. Admiral Stone's face went pale. You're saying the humans survived the purge? Not just survived, Dr. Chen said, still looking at his device. Thrived. While the coalition thought they had won, human civilization continued underground and in hidden space stations. We spent the next few thousand years preparing. Preparing for what? Dr. Park whispered. Captain Cross was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, harder. Dr. Park, what do your records say about what lies beyond the galactic rim? Nothing, it's empty space, radiation and cosmic dust. That's not entirely correct, Dr. Chen said. The space beyond the rim is home to things that your species haven't encountered yet. Things that make the coalition that destroyed our surface cities look like children playing with toys. Hayes pulled out her own device and activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air above the table, creatures that looked like they were made of living darkness, ships that seemed to bend reality around them, weapons that could crack planets like eggs. These are the others, she said simply. They've been sleeping in the void between galaxies for millions of years, but they're starting to wake up. Admiral Stone stared at the images. What are they? Extinction, Captain Cross replied. Pure extinction. They don't want territory or resources, they want to end all life in the galaxy. Every thinking species, every world with life on it, gone. Dr. Park felt sick. And you've been fighting them? For 20,000 years, Tony Kim confirmed. While the galaxy celebrated humanity's destruction, we were out there holding the line, keeping the others from noticing this galaxy exists. But we can't do it forever, Dr. Chen added. They're getting stronger, more active. Soon they'll push past our defenses and enter this galaxy properly. Captain Cross stood up and walked to the viewport. Outside, his ship waited in the docking bay. Dr. Park, Admiral Stone, humanity didn't go extinct. We went to war, a war that never ended. And now we need to prepare this galaxy for what's coming. What do you mean? Admiral Stone asked. Hayes answered. The captain means that the vacation is over. The galaxy has had 15,000 years of peace because humans were out there dying to protect it. But the others are too strong now. We need more ships, more soldiers, more worlds willing to fight. You're talking about conquering the galaxy, Admiral Stone said, his hand moving toward his weapon. Commander Hayes looked at him and smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Admiral, if we wanted to conquer the galaxy, do you think we would be sitting here talking? Captain Cross turned back to them. Show them, Tony. Tony Kim touched his device. The lights in the station flickered, and every alarm system went silent. The life support systems stopped humming. Even the artificial gravity seemed to weaken. That was just our ship's defensive systems scanning your station, Kim explained casually. We now have complete control of every system on this facility. We could shut down your entire fleet from here if we wanted to. The lights came back on. The alarms reset. Everything returned to normal. But we don't want to. Captain Cross said. "We want to save you, all of you. Every species in this galaxy, even the ones that tried to wipe us out." Dr. Park found her voice. "What do you need from us?" "Recognition," Dr. Chen said. "We need the Galactic Council to understand that humanity is back, and we're taking charge of galactic defense. Not because we want power, but because we're the only ones who know how to fight what's coming." Admiral Stone was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, "How many of you are there?" Captain Cross looked out at the stars. "Enough. We've been building fleets for 20,000 years. Hidden shipyards, secret colonies, weapons that your scientists can't even imagine. We're not the same species that left this galaxy. We're stronger, faster, smarter. We've had to be." "And if the Council refuses?" Dr. Park asked. Hayes answered, "Then you'll all die when the others arrive, and humanity will be alone again, fighting a war that should have been everyone's responsibility." Captain Cross walked back to the table. "Dr. Park, I need you to arrange a meeting with the full Galactic Council. They need to understand what's at stake. The age of hiding is over. Humanity is back, and whether the galaxy likes it or not, we're going to save it." Outside the viewport, more shapes appeared in the darkness between stars. Human ships, decloaking, one by one, until the space around the station was filled with vessels that shouldn't exist. The galaxy was about to learn that some threats required monsters to fight them. And after 20,000 years of preparation, humanity had become very good at being monsters. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council took place on Nexus Prime, the capital world of the galaxy's government. Representatives from 200 species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, their voices creating a storm of fear and anger. Dr. Lisa Park sat in the human observer section, watching alien delegates argue about something none of them truly understood. "This is madness," shouted Council President Vextar, his forearms waving wildly. "We cannot simply hand over galactic defense to a species that was extinct yesterday." Admiral Carl Stone stood at the speaker's podium, his face grim. "President Vextar, with respect, they weren't extinct. They were preparing. And now they're back with technology that makes our best ships look like toys." The massive doors at the back of the assembly hall opened. Captain Ryan Cross walked in, but he wasn't alone. Behind him came a woman in a pristine military uniform covered with rank insignia that belonged to no known human military structure. She was tall, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see through everything they looked at. "Honored delegates," Captain Cross said, his voice carrying easily through the huge chamber, "I present Fleet Admiral Kate Sullivan, commander of the Human Defense Fleet." The assembly fell silent. Admiral Sullivan walked to the center of the hall with the confident stride of someone who had commanded starships while most of the delegates' species were still learning to use fire. She looked around the room slowly, studying each delegate as if memorizing their weaknesses. "Honored Council," she began, her voice polite but carrying an undertone of iron. "My name is Kate Sullivan. I speak for humanity and the ships currently surrounding this star system." President Vexitar's skin turned pale blue. "Surrounding us?" Admiral Sullivan nodded to Captain Cross, who activated a holographic display. The image showed Nexus Prime's solar system, but it was no longer empty space. Around the planets, hundreds of human ships hung in the darkness, their weapons powered down but clearly visible. "We didn't come here to threaten you," Admiral Sullivan continued. "We came here to save you. But first, you need to understand what you're dealing with." She gestured and the display changed. It showed a section of space at the galaxy's edge where stars were going dark one by one. 3 months ago, our forward scouts detected this. The others have begun their approach. They're not coming slowly anymore, they're coming fast. Dr. Park felt her blood turn cold. The images showed entire solar systems simply disappearing, leaving behind nothing but empty space where billions of lives had existed moments before. "What are those things?" asked Delegate Korth from the Reptilian Alliance. "Death," Admiral Sullivan replied simply. "They are creatures that exist to end life. We've been fighting them for 20,000 years. and we've learned that there's only one way to stop them. Complete resistance. No surrender, no negotiation, no mercy. And you expect us to believe that humanity has been protecting us all. This time? President Vextar demanded. Admiral Sullivan's expression didn't change. I don't expect you to believe anything. I expect you to look at the evidence. She nodded again, and the display showed battle footage from the war beyond the rim. Human ships, sleek and deadly, fighting against creatures that looked like living nightmares. The delegates watched in horror as human crews fought battles that lasted for years, ships being destroyed and rebuilt, entire fleets sacrificing themselves to hold a single position. The humans in the footage moved and fought like they had been born for war, their tactics brutal but effective. This is why we changed, Admiral Sullivan explained. 20,000 years of constant war shapes a species. We became what we needed to become to survive. And what exactly do you want from us? Asked the delegate from the Crystal Worlds. Simple, Admiral Sullivan replied. Recognition that humanity is back, acknowledgement that we are in charge of galactic defense, and cooperation when we ask for it. President Vextar stood up, his arms spread wide. You cannot simply demand control of the galaxy. Admiral Sullivan looked at him with something that might have been pity. President Vextar, we're not demanding anything. We're informing you of reality. The galaxy is about to face extinction. We're the only ones who know how to prevent it. You can work with us or you can die with dignity. Those are your options. The assembly erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted about sovereignty and independence. Some demanded that their fleets be mobilized to resist the human presence. Admiral Sullivan waited patiently for the noise to die down. If I may, she said when the hall was quiet again. Let me demonstrate something. She touched a device on her wrist. Outside the assembly hall, the sky darkened, not with clouds, but with the shadows of massive ships moving overhead. The delegates rushed to the windows and saw vessels the size of cities floating above the capital. Those are just our escort ships, Admiral Sullivan said calmly. The real fleet is still hidden. We have ships that can crack planets, weapons that can make stars go nova, and soldiers who have been bred for 20,000 years of constant war. She paused, letting that sink in. But we're not here to conquer you. We're here because the others are coming, and when they arrive, this galaxy will need every ship, every weapon, and every soldier it can get. Dr. Park stood up from her seat. Admiral Sullivan, what happens if the Council agrees to your terms? Then we begin preparing, Sullivan replied. We share our technology, we train your people, and we build the largest military force this galaxy has ever seen. Because, Dr. Park, what's coming toward us now makes our previous war look like a small disagreement. And if we refuse? President Vextar asked. Admiral Sullivan looked directly at him. Then in 6 months, when the others break through our outer defenses, you'll watch your worlds burn and wonder why you chose pride over survival. The display changed again, showing real-time images from the galactic rim. Dark shapes were moving between the stars, heading toward known space at impossible speeds. Even at this distance, the sensors could detect energy signatures that violated several laws of physics. They're not coming to invade, Admiral Sullivan continued. They're coming to sterilize. Every world with life on it will be stripped down to bare rock. Every thinking species will be eliminated, and then they'll move on to the next galaxy. Captain Cross stepped forward. The vote needs to be now. We don't have time for debates or committee meetings. The advanced scouts will reach the outer colonies in 4 months. President Vextar looked around the assembly hall. The delegates were silent now, staring at the images of approaching destruction. Some were praying to their gods. Others were calculating how fast their ships could flee to the next galaxy, all in favor of recognizing human authority over galactic defense. President Vextar said quietly. Hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages rose throughout the hall. The vote was almost unanimous. Admiral Sullivan nodded. Thank you. Now, let's get to work. We have a galaxy to save. Outside, more human ships decloaked, their hulls scarred from battles beyond imagination. The galaxy had voted to trust the monsters from Earth. It was the smartest decision they would ever make. 6 months later, the galaxy was a different place. Human ships patrolled every major trade route, their dark hulls a constant reminder that the old order had ended. On Nexus Prime, President Maria Santos stood in the newly built Human Command Center, watching reports flow in from across known space. Maria was the first human president the galaxy had seen in 20,000 years. Unlike the military commanders who had returned with the fleets, she was a diplomat, chosen to help the other species adjust to humanity's return. Her job was to make sure the galaxy understood that humans were protectors, not conquerors. Status. Report, she said to Director Paul Green, the head of Human Intelligence Operations. Paul touched his datapad, and information appeared on the main screen. All outer defense stations are operational. We've got human-alien joint crews on 200 platforms. The training programs are ahead of schedule. Through the command center windows, Maria could see alien workers building new defensive installations alongside human engineers. The cooperation wasn't perfect, but it was working. Fear had a way of bringing enemies together. What about the outer rim? Maria asked. Captain Susan Clark's patrol group made contact with another scout ship yesterday. Paul replied grimly. They destroyed it, but not before it transmitted something back to the main force. Maria felt her stomach tighten. How long do we have? 2 weeks, maybe less. The doors to the command center opened and Admiral Kate Sullivan walked in, followed by Captain Ryan Cross and Dr. Lisa Park. Lisa had become the Council's official liaison to humanity, helping translate between human military thinking and alien political concerns. President Santos, Admiral Sullivan said, we need to talk. They moved to a private conference room where they could speak freely. Admiral Sullivan activated a security field that would prevent any electronic monitoring, then sat down heavily in her chair. The others aren't just coming, she said. They're coming in force. Our deep space sensors detected the main fleet 3 hours ago. It's bigger than anything we've faced before. Dr. Park looked pale. How much bigger? Captain Cross answered. 10,000 ships minimum, each one the size of a small moon. And they're bringing support fleets that could glass entire star systems. But we're ready for them, Maria said, hoping her voice sounded more confident than she felt. Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a moment. Maria, I need to tell you something. Something the Council doesn't know. She activated a holographic display, showing the approaching enemy fleet. The ships were massive, dark shapes that seemed to bend light around them. We've been fighting the others for 20,000 years, but we've never faced their full strength. We've been fighting their advanced scouts, their exploration fleets. This is their war fleet. What are you saying? Dr. Park asked. I'm saying that even with everything we've built, everyone we've trained, and all the weapons we've deployed, we might not win this one. The room fell silent. Outside, construction crews continued building defenses, unaware that their commanders had doubts about whether those defenses would be enough. Captain Cross leaned forward. But we have advantages they don't expect. For 20,000 years, they've fought isolated human fleets. They've never faced humans fighting alongside other species. They don't understand what cooperation can do. Plus, Admiral Sullivan added, they think this galaxy is weak. They expect to sweep through without real resistance. They're not prepared for the kind of fight we're going to give them. Maria stood up and walked to the window. Below, she could see alien children playing in a park while their parents worked on human defense projects. Those children deserved a future, and it was humanity's job to make sure they got one. What do you need from me? She asked. Permission to activate the final protocol, Admiral Sullivan replied. Maria turned around slowly. The final protocol was humanity's last resort, something so dangerous that even the military commanders were afraid to use it. Kate, are you sure? If we lose this battle, the others will strip every world in this galaxy down to bare rock. Every thinking species will be extinct within a year. The final protocol gives us a chance. Dr. Park looked confused. What's the final protocol? Captain Cross answered. 20,000 years ago, when humanity first encountered the others, we realized that conventional weapons wouldn't be enough. So we developed something new, something that could hurt them the way they hurt us. We learned how to weaponize stars, Admiral Sullivan said simply. The room went cold. Dr. Park stared at them in horror. You're talking about destroying entire solar systems. Only the ones where the others gather, Admiral Sullivan replied. And only if we have no other choice. It's a weapon that ends civilizations, Dr. Park, but sometimes that's what it takes, to save them. Maria thought about the children in the park, about the alien delegates who had voted to trust humanity, about all the species counting on human protection. If you think it's necessary, you have my permission, Admiral Sullivan nodded. Thank you, Madam President. 2 weeks later, the battle began at the edge of the galaxy. Human ships and their alien allies formed a defensive line stretching across dozens of star systems. The others came like a black tide, their ships moving in formations that hurt to look at directly. The first engagement lasted 3 days. Human weapons that could crack planets met other shields that had survived since the beginning of time. Alien crews fought alongside human soldiers, learning in the heat of battle what 20,000 years of war had taught humanity. Captain Susan Clark commanded the defense of the Kepler sector, her mixed crew of humans and aliens working together, with deadly efficiency. When her ship's weapons failed, alien engineers fixed them. When alien crew members were injured, human medics saved them. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan, came the voice over the battle communications. The others are concentrating their main force in the Vega system. All units prepare for final protocol activation. Susan looked around her bridge. Her crew was made up of 5 different species, all of them ready to die for a galaxy that had only recently learned to work together. You heard the Admiral, she said. Take us to Vega. Time to show the others what this galaxy can do when it fights as one. The final battle took place around Vega's star. Thousands of ships from dozens of species fought against the others' main fleet, while human engineers prepared the star itself as a weapon. When the others realized what was happening, they tried to retreat, but it was too late. The star went nova, taking half the other fleet with it. The survivors fled back toward the void between galaxies, their invasion broken. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched for survivors and engineers began rebuilding damaged stations, Maria Santos stood again in the command center on Nexus Prime. This time she wasn't alone. Representatives from every major species stood with her, no longer visitors or observers, but partners. Status report, she said. The others are retreating, Admiral Sullivan replied. Our sensors show them leaving the galaxy. It'll be years before they can mount another attack if they ever try again. Dr. Park smiled for the first time in months. And the Alliance? Captain Cross, now promoted to Admiral, answered. Stronger than ever. Turns out fighting together against extinction creates bonds that don't break easily. Maria looked out at the stars, where human and alien ships patrolled together, protecting a galaxy that had learned the value of cooperation. Humanity had kept its promise. They had saved everyone, even the species that had once tried to destroy them. The age of silence was over. The age of unity had begun.